Hi everyone, my name is Victoria and I'm an occupational therapist with Renfrew County Mental Health Services. I'm very excited to get to talk with everyone today about one of my favorite things, sleep. So the reason I'm talking about sleep today is because it's critical, not only for our physical health, but also our mental health. We know in times of anxiety and worry, sleep can be one of the first things that gets affected. And we know how hard it is to try and function and do all the things we need to do today without a good night's sleep. It makes everything feel impossible. So whether you had sleeping problems before COVID-19 or this is something new, today I'm going to be giving 5 different tips that you can try to use to get a good night's sleep. So the first tip is set a schedule and stick to it. Sometimes when we're out of our routines, suddenly we're waking up at different times, going to bed at different times, and there's no consistency. So I recommend picking a waking time and going to bed time and sticking with it, even on weekends. So you can have an hour window of flexibility, but trying to stick between those windows, it really helps your body fall into a routine and a schedule. Tip number 2 is naps. Naps will be your best friend in the moment and your worst enemy when you're trying to go to bed at night. So if you can avoid naps at all costs, I would highly recommend it. It really disrupts your sleep pattern, especially when you try to go to bed that night. If you do need to have a nap, I recommend keeping it below 30 minutes and so that you're still able to get a good night's sleep at night. Tip number 3 is relaxation techniques. If you're in bed and it's been over 20 minutes and you're tossing and turning, it's appropriate for you to get up and go do something boring, whether it be reading a book, some taxes, anything that's not going to keep you awake. After those 20 minutes, you can always try to go back to bed again and repeat this cycle. This is also a great time to try some progressive muscle relaxation techniques as well. If you simply Google or YouTube progressive muscle relaxation, you will find thousands of different videos. What I like about this one is it walks you through meditation and muscle relaxation techniques, and it requires no effort on your part, rather just lying back, closing your eyes, and following the steps. Tip number 4, which I think is one of the hardest things, is avoiding technology before bed. So phones, television, iPads, everything should be turned off 2 hours before going to bed. I think with COVID-19 right now, this is one of the most important things. We're getting consumed by lots of reports and news, and even though if you don't feel like it's affecting you at a conscious level, at a subconscious level, all this news could be really making your sleep quite difficult and be making you quite anxious. So turning them off 2 hours before bed. If you're someone like myself who needs that extra motivator, try plugging your phone in across the room. This will prevent you from getting up and using it. It's also great in the morning when your alarm goes off and you can't press snooze. The last tip, so tip number 5, is have a worry time. So suddenly when we go to bed, we find that it gives our brain all this time to start thinking about all the things we're worried about, all the things that are going wrong, or all the things that we need to do. This makes it quite difficult to go to sleep. So what I recommend is shortly, maybe after supper time, a couple hours before going to bed, set aside a time where you sit down and write out, draw out, or any therapeutic way of getting out all these worries or thoughts that are in your head. Getting them down on paper will help you feel a sense of control over them. Later that night, then when you go back to bed and you start to have these thoughts, you can acknowledge those thoughts. However, telling yourself that you had that time today, you already did those thoughts and those worries, and that you're not going to go through with them right now. Then later on, you can have those again the next day and the following day, having that time set aside. So I hope you're able to find some helpful tips and tricks in this presentation, and I hope you all have a great night's sleep.